So I just got done watching Megamind 2. Yeah. So yeah guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm sure you probably saw this was coming, and of course I am gonna hop on the Megamind 2 hate bandwagon. Of course I am, because not only is it true and it's appropriate that people are making thousands of videos on this website about just how god-awful this movie is, I'm gonna hop on the train because I just got done watching it and it was worse than I expected. So Megamind, if you didn't know, is a classic DreamWorks animated movie which came out in 2010, starring Will Ferrell as Megamind himself, and Brad Pitt as Metro Man, also including Tina Fey and Jonah Hill as side characters. So pretty stacked cast, you would say, right? And the movie was honestly one of those ones that was kind of ahead of its time. When the movie first released in 2010, I don't believe it garnered as much attention as it has in recent times due to memes and other kinds of formats that it's been included in. Here are just some of them right here. Pretty good. And also, yeah, I just wanted to mention, I don't have any drawings behind me this time. I wanted to kind of bring the camera a little bit closer and just like kind of see if I could do something that I did right there. Who knows, that part might not even make it into the video. So yeah, I do believe that this movie was way ahead of its time. It was one of the first feature-length films, I believe, as far as I know, that was able to do like the evil Superman scheme. And that was with the character of Jonah Hill's Titan. Anyways, we're not talking about Megamind 1 right now. We are talking about Megamind 2. So I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you've already seen and know so much about the first movie, probably loved it and adored it as much as I did. So you're probably as disappointed as I am as well. So I'm going to be breaking this video down into 4 parts. Firstly, starting off with the characters, and then getting into the story / the writing, and then the animation, and then finally the humor. Starting from the top, of course I have most of the things to say about the characters and then the least to say about the humor, but it's still a lot. So let's start off with the characters and how they completely butchered them so bad in this movie. So I guess, what better place to start with the characters than Megamind himself? First thing, there's no Will Ferrell. None of the returning cast came back for this movie, so all the characters that you loved from the first one that made them special were portrayed by insane voice actors like Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Jonah Hill, the guy from Alvin and the Chipmunks, you know, who wanted to steal the chipmunks. But not only does Megamind's new voice actor just not hit the spot at all.
Here's a souvenir. It's either a paperweight or a flash grenade, so careful with that.
Yes, the spider.
He just seems like he's not putting in any effort to it. Of course, this can just be because he had big shoes to fill with Will Ferrell being the original Megamind and this guy seemingly coming out of nowhere. But I can look past that, right? That's new voice actors. It's a new project that came out really fast. They released the trailer and maybe they just couldn't, they didn't have the budget to get all these A-list actors, right? Right? Maybe the writing will be good. Maybe the animation will be better, right? That's how things work, right? No. So it seems like they really just decided to dumb down Megamind by an insane degree. There's just one part of the movie where he's like calling Roxanne Ritchie for help, and he calls her all the way over there. She's like, I need help. Someone, please get over here right now. It's life or death. Life or death, he says. She gets over there. He didn't know how to plug in his toaster. He didn't know why the toaster wasn't working, and Roxanne's like, oh, you have to plug it in. Yeah, but I mean, that's just one of the humor things, which I already covered, I guess, one thing. They all kind of just mesh together, all of the mistakes of this movie. And then there's the whole thing of Megamind kind of being a selfish asshole. Like in the first movie, you go through this entire character arc of the relationship between Minion and Megamind. They're friends, been friends since they were sent to Earth, and they went throughout their entire life together. And in the first movie, they have a falling out because Megamind now wants to be a good guy, right? And Minion is like, we've always been bad, what are we gonna do? Like, I can't work for him anymore, right? And they resolved this, of course, because it's a movie and it's a kid's movie and that's what was gonna happen. I mean, everyone knew that, you know? It was a little predictable from the first movie, but it's a kid's movie. I mean, come on. So yeah, they get back, they are now equals, they're even, they work side by side. But in this movie, you got Megamind who's like, Minion's not my sidekick. He's just like this guy that like sits there and like gets to hang out with the hero, and he's not like on the same level as me, not a sidekick, not a he's nothing like that. That's just completely out of character for him. Speaking of Minion, they go the extra mile, man. They changed Minion's name. Get this, to Ol Chum. Ol Chum. But they just call him Chum in this one. And they claim that it's because of a brand called like, whatever, just a brand in the universe. But everyone knows that it's because of these guys right here, you know, these yellow But I mean, besides that, Minion was probably the closest character to who he was in the first movie. I mean, he obviously didn't have the same voice actor as the guy from Alvin and the Chipmunks, but his character remained pretty much the same. You could definitely tell there was a difference in the voice acting, but I was able to look past it because Minion was always my favorite character. Leading more into the characters, we have the villains of this movie, which is the Doom Syndicate. Oh boy. All of these villains are so forgettable. They have little to no depth about their characters. They make the most pointless and stupid decisions, and you have no idea why. They're just really not smart, and it seems like they kind of dumb down all the characters in this movie, in this universe, to kind of just like fit the whole reality of what kids believe. I don't know, that's what I think. But these villains are just like so incredibly stupid, and there's this whole part where Megamind's like, I was able to beat Titan, but there's like, that was just one of them. There's 4 of them now, and like, they're not as powerful as Titan, like, not even close. Then you have the new character of Kiko, most generic apprentice kid character ever, shows up out of nowhere, you know, vlogging her way, and just really nothing else to say besides very forgettable. Not only is the character arc between Minion and Megamind now completely blurred, the relationship between him and Roxanne Ritchie is now completely screwed up. There's just one part in the movie where they're like, what is like, someone's asking about their relationship and they're both like simultaneously in sync. It's complicated. Like, it's really not complicated. It seemed very clear that in the first movie, they had this disconnect at first, and then all of a sudden, Megamind was pretending to be Bernard and fell in love with Roxanne, and Roxanne fell in love with Bernard, but she was really falling in love with Megamind. So how exactly is it complicated? I have no idea. And then there's Roxanne as a character, just completely washed up, completely watered down her entire character. Like, God, it is bad. She has this character arc where she wishes she could be doing more than reporting, and she wants to be more in the spotlight of things. And that eventually comes full circle in the probably dumbest and laziest way at the end of this movie. But when did she exactly have a problem with being a reporter and would rather be in the spotlight in the first movie? Seems a little selfish to me. And not only that, but she was the center of attention. She was always getting captured. She was a reporter reporting on these things, getting captured by Megamind and saved by Metro Man. Everyone knew who she was. Now, I was gonna say that part, the whole arc with Roxanne, would have worked if this movie didn't take place 2 days canonically to the first movie. Yeah, that's right. They confirm in this movie that it takes place 2 days after the original movie, and all of a sudden Roxanne wants to be more than just a reporter. I think it would make a lot more sense if this had taken place like the amount of time it has been since the movies come out, 14 years, or maybe even less time than that, 5 years. That'd be enough time for her to, you know, not want to be a reporter anymore, kind of be more in the spotlight. And then finally, this is another thing about Minion, is that there's this part at the end when he's just like out of his fishbowl, right? You guys remember the first time when he sacrificed himself in the first movie and he was barely able to move, couldn't really do anything outside of his water because, you know, he's a fish. He might not be from this world, but he is a fish and needs water to survive. And that's all he can really do. Fish can't like move their hands or their gills or anything like that. This dude is able to sling his whole body like he's Luffy from One Piece, like he's made of rubber, and just use his fins to just like grab things and just like bounce around, move around, and just like do all these things that doesn't make any sense. And I realized, yes, it is a kid's movie, it is an animated movie, they can do stuff like that, but that's not in his character. There were so many times, especially during his arc in the first movie, where he could have used that to his advantage. No, why would they? Why would they? Why? So that's really all I have to say about the characters. I guess if you want to include the completely just boring side characters, the citizens of Metrocity that are just like completely boring. They don't even follow the same models or anything from the first movie. Like, look at the mayor, the biggest downgrade I have ever seen. I miss that mustache, man. That is not the same mustache. So let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this, the story and the writing. Ooh. Okay, so this is a little embarrassing. Before we get into the writing and the story, I just recorded that entire last part without changing the FPS or the resolution. So I wanted it at 4K 60 FPS. As you can see, probably not gonna be that. I think I'm just gonna keep it because I already said everything I need to say, and I just don't think that I would have the anger and the initial reaction as fresh as it was if I were to just repeat everything I just said, because I'm just speaking straight from the heart right here. That was all true stuff, and I'm not gonna go back and record it. I'm just gonna be good from now. I hope you guys will understand. So let's get into the writing and the story. As I said previously, this movie takes place 2 days after the original Megamind, and I'm not sure why they went with that. Keep in mind that the first Megamind movie took place in 2010, supposedly, okay? Obviously, this is a fictional world. There's fictional superheroes and everything, so this might be a little bit of a nitpick. But if the movie was supposedly taking place in 2010 when the movie first got released, and based off of what we saw in the first movie, smartphone-wise and technology-wise, apparently now, social media and influencing, all of that stuff is thriving in this world. If you hadn't heard already, they released this movie originally to set up a Megamind series called Megamind Rules, which is gonna be straight to streaming on Peacock, just as this movie was, same animation, same everything. It's about him becoming a social media influencer. Megamind. Just save the city. Come here, Roxy, baby. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, there's that, of course. They need to have this wokeness in the movie. They have the little girl who's woke. She's like a follower of Megamind and like records all of his vlogs and streams and uploads them online. Like, God, it just couldn't get more predictable than this. And then there's the whole thing of like reused jokes. Obviously, we saw that coming. There was like the same thing between like Minion and Megamind where they would just say something in a certain way and they just like did it but using a different joke. Hilarious, original, great. There was this part where the Doom Syndicate breaks out of jail, right? They're like, we'll know when the time is right to break out of jail, right? Like Megamind will call us. He's our leader. That's another thing, by the way. I'll get into that in a second. They're like, we need to get Megamind to break us out, and they're like, okay, now Megamind is a good guy now. It must be a sign that he's pretending to be good, and that's our sign to now break out of jail. They do it so easily. They break out of jail so easily, and apparently they've been there for long time, so why couldn't they have done that before? I have no idea. Yeah, and then there's the whole thing about the Doom Syndicate and just like not ever being mentioned in the first movie at all. And I was under the belief that this universe of Megamind, this world, was just Megamind and Metro Man. Like they were aliens from space that got sent together to Earth, and they were the only super beings on the world, and that's why they were the only ones that were ever broadcasted. And then of course Titan, but he got the power from Metro Man. There's this part where Megamind mentioned that he went to villain school and he met these Doom Syndicate goons in villain school. Like, no, we know from the first movie that he came to space and he landed in a jail. Landed in a jail and was raised by thugs. That's why he thought bad was good. He thought doing bad was good because he was taught by criminals. He didn't go to villain school. He was taught by real criminals. Villain school? I mean, like... They could have at least said that he met them in prison, because that's where it was. Why? Why villain school? Oh my God, and there's this one part, you know like the dehydration device, it's called like the D weapon or like the D gun, that's what it's called, the D gun. It like hydrates things and turns them into like that cube that looks like the Tesseract. Not the only thing that reminds me of a Marvel movie. But yeah, I mean like it's something that you can like dehydrate things and then it'll turn into that Tesseract looking thing, and then if it touches water it just comes out of what it was, right? So just so conveniently he's like freezing these like miniature villains, and one of them is in the cube and it just falls right towards this puddle that just so happens to be there on the dance floor. This is right after a dance battle, we'll get to that soon enough, and he saves it from that puddle, right? He saves it from that puddle, but then it slips again and it falls in a bowl of ice cubes. It's like that part in Temple of Doom, you know, when he drops the gem and there's like ice everywhere and he's just like, oh, it now blends in. So it's like, or Willie Scott was like, oh, now I can't find it. Now I gotta like go looking for it. It's the same exact thing, except it is so much worse because if the thing touches water, it stops. It comes out of the ball. It comes out of the square, the cube, it just turns back to normal, and they just completely forgot about that. And then finally, just some things near the end that really stood out to me. There were some citizens that just had no idea who Megamind even was, as if he wasn't doing this charade with Metro Man for like years on end, terrorizing Metro City, and then Metro Man is saving. Like, how do people not know who Megamind is? And then at the end, there's like this part where Roxanne's like, what were you doing in this event? Like, when they were trying to bring Metrocity to the moon, like, what were you trying to do, mayor? And then it just has a title card, 1 election later, Roxanne's suddenly the mayor. Yeah.
That's just lazy writing.
And then there's a final after credit scene where there's like this floating brain that visits the Doom Syndicate in prison, and he's like, I taught Megamind everything he knows. No one cares. No one really cares about that. Also, once again, it's just like a complete error in the script. Like, Megamind learned everything he knew in prison from some crooks, not from this floating brain. That's really all I have to say about the writing. I mean, obviously all of it is bad. It is just like forced and super fast, and I don't know, those are just the ones that I really stood out to me when I was taking notes on this one. It's bad. So let's get into the animation. Not a lot to say here. Obviously, it's horrible. It seems like 2002 animation, and remember, the original movie came out 14 years ago. 14. They even show a clip bringing you up to speed on what happened from the original movie for like people that forgot for some reason. And they're just like showing the old animation. It's just like so fluid, so perfect. And I'm just like, why can't it just be this? Why can't it just be this? It looks so good. The animation, I mean, like people's expressions, they're stiff. It's without personality. You got these streets that look completely barren. Like, where is the personality of this city that we once saw? There's absolutely nothing going on in the streets, and everyone is just kind of like, what, indoors, like who knows what's going on. And then all of a sudden there's this one part when like the city's being lifted up, which Sokovia, by the way, another thing that they kind of yapped from Marvel, the whole plot is trying to bring this city to the moon or whatever. There's like all these people on the street all of a sudden, like right when there's danger, there needs to be crowds of people on the street, of course. The renders of the characters, like obviously Megamind, Roxanne, Richie, all the original characters are pretty much the same. I mean, you can't really like get it wrong when you have like the main characters. You need to have the main characters look pretty much the same, and they somehow managed to screw that up too. But that's not even what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is the side characters, the citizens of the city. You got the mayor, biggest downgrade in history, biggest downgrade in cinematic history. Oh my God. I'm still thinking about that mustache. And these characters that just seem so like lifeless and just like what were they thinking? So obviously it goes without saying that this animation is just poor and lazy and just like they didn't really try. I would understand if they use this animation for the following show, right? It's easier to make, they have episodes they gotta make, and they did it for Penguins of Madagascar, did it for Kung Fu Panda show, they did it for a lot of DreamWorks shows, okay, that came out for TVs. Like they had that stiff animation, but like we get it. It has to be that way. They can't do this top-notch animation for a TV show that's, you know, might not even make it. You can't be sure. But this movie has the same animation. It's a movie. It is a sequel to a beloved film, And it just has this like horrible animation. I'm like thinking like, how do you even let this slide? It's a soulless cash grab, and it makes me genuinely mad. Finally, getting into the last thing is the humor. Yeah, we all saw this coming. Fart jokes, potty humor, all of it. It's all there, whole 9 yards. Obviously the jokes are as predictable as they come. You know, you got the Doom Syndicate who are always talking in sync. You got this one character his name's like Nighty Night. He's supposed to be like this really dark guy who like can control darkness, and he's like the biggest threat of the group, but he has like this really soft side where he finds this teddy bear and he's like, oh, nothing will happen to you, Mr. Teddy. Like, it just can't get more predictable than that, more children potty humor than that. There are like 3 montages. One of them is a dance montage, a dance battle, and then there's like one where they go shopping. It's like a shopping montage where they like buy out this whole store to get tennis balls to shoot. And that's the other thing, the ending where they fight the Doom Syndicate, they just shoot tennis balls at them and it works. It works. It keeps them at bay for long enough to keep it as a distraction. They're all just like, no, 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 please. Please don't shoot tennis balls at me. Like this one girl can control storm. This one guy is made of magma. There's a hallucinogenic mind that can like brainwash people. And then what's the 4th guy? Oh yeah, 99. I was just talking about him. There's nothing they could have done, you're telling me? Yeah, right. The dance battle really reminded me of another movie, which really, good movie, not as bad as this for sure, but one problem I had with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie too. Yeah, in this movie, like there was this part where, you know, they come across some humans and Sonic and Tails start dancing. There's like the way they get out of this problem is like dancing. But they're super, like Tails could have flew Sonic out of there at any point. Sonic could have ran out. Like I really don't understand why they saw these people as threats and the only way out was a dance battle. I just don't get it. And that's really all I have to say, guys. I mean, like, would I recommend this movie? Absolutely. It was really laughably bad. I watched it with my roommate and we have the same outlook on films and we just like speechless, honestly, speechless. So there's like this one thing at the end where it was like the end and then it zoomed out and it said not before the word the end because we were like, it showed the end and then we were like, it's over finally, and it said not the end and it had that like the post-credit scene with the brain guy that taught Megamind everything he knew. It's just garbage. So yeah, I mean, that's basically all I had to say. I just really wanted to make a video about this movie as it was extremely disappointing. I hope you guys watch it and found it as funny as I did. In my humble opinion, in my world, in my book, if a movie gets below a 20, if it's a sequel to a great movie and it gets below a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes or just like any other rating system, it's not canon. So don't worry about it. This is not canon to the Megamind universe. They didn't ruin Megamind in my opinion because the first movie stands on its own. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one.